Hi everybody, Tammy from Homesteading in the City with Tammy. Today's video is going to be a garden tour for the 1st of August. I wanted to show you what I had growing in the garden, what's doing really good, and what might not be doing so well. If that is something that interests you, stick around. Okay, before we do the garden tour, I just wanted to take a few minutes to thank everybody for stopping by and visiting my channel. And for those of you who've been from the beginning, I really appreciate you coming by each week and watching the new videos. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing so. It does benefit me by you subscribing to my YouTube channel. So on that note, I'm going to show you, I'll flip you around and show you what is growing in my garden. So the first thing I wanted to show you that's grown in the garden is my cucumbers. Look how big that cucumber patch is. Those cucumbers are huge. They're growing all out and they're touching into my tomato plants. They are doing wonderful, and I have been gradually getting cucumbers on. Let me see if I can get, there's cucumbers down there, can you see? Little ones, some big ones. They're actually doing really well. I got a couple of little ones here, down in there. My cucumber plants, they took a long time to grow. Part of these, if you watch the other video, part started in the greenhouse. Took forever to take off. Then they finally started taking off, and I actually planted some behind it. But they are doing wonderful. They're growing right up the fence and the trellis and everything, but they are also growing out into the ground. This is the first year my cucumbers have done this well in the garden, and I usually put them in this about same spot. They might be here, they might be over into the corner a little bit more, but usually right about the same spot. But this year they're doing wonderful. Although we did get a wonderful rainstorm last night, so they got a good drink. But they were doing well before then. Okay, so the next is my tomatoes. Those are also doing wonderful. They got so top heavy that they ended up, the cage is right here. They were probably, a good 3 feet from the cage where my hand is, over top of the cage. They bent down and they're now touching the ground. They bent over one night in a windstorm. I wasn't expecting to get the windstorm, and I didn't support them. They all bent right over because they were so top heavy. If you can see, I mean, I've got a ton of tomatoes on them. Like this one here is huge. I can get a good picture of him. I can't really get a good picture of how big he is. He's not quite ready to pick, but look how big that tomato is there. He is huge, and all of them on this plant are big like that. These are the alpacas, and that's how they get. So that was a really big tomato plant. I just found something that I'm going to have to get off, and I hate these things. A tomato horned worm right there. He has to go. He's eating all of my tomatoes. Look at all those babies on his back. He has to go. Get rid of him, put him in the garbage bucket. He can die down there. I try to look all the time to see if I have them on there. It's hard. They blend so well with your tomato plants. It's so hard to find them. I just happened to look up and see all the little white babies that he had on his back. So I was able to find him quicker. He'll eat my tomatoes like crazy. Usually the only way I know if I have one is when I see bites out of a tomato, and then the hunt is on to try to find where he's at. I might have another one because of all of the stuff that's missing on this plant here. So I might have to go searching for another one, and it could have been him and he just got over to that plant. But I'll have to search. It's just so hard. See what I mean? There's a bite out of that one. So there's one here somewhere, and like I said, maybe that was him, but I don't know. I've got to do some searching, see if I can't find that one so that it doesn't take bites out of all of my tomatoes and then they start to rot really fast. But the tomatoes are starting to do really good. I'm just starting to get some red ones, pink, orange ones in there, but they are just loaded with tomatoes and they're so heavy. That's why it's going to be really hard to try to find that hornworm. He blends in so well, and they just disgust me. I just don't like them at all. I am not a worm person. But so the tomatoes are actually doing really good. This one is, look at all the tomatoes that are on this plant here. They're just loaded with tomatoes. So once they start getting red and ripening, I will have tomatoes like crazy. I'll be processing tomatoes all day, every day for like a month, I swear, because this one is just loaded with tomatoes. And they're just now starting to get red. Now my pepper plants are just starting to do really good. I've got quite a few peppers on all of my plants. I've been actually pulling peppers off on a regular basis. This little one down here, he's doing good. He just happened to grow right out the bottom of the pepper plant there. But my peppers are actually doing really well. Let's see, these ones. See, they're actually pretty tall. And then these ones are going to be orange, so there's a little orange pepper down there. These ones are a little bit different. They're shaped, they only get like that big, it looks like. I've got a lot of them that size. And there's one over here, same plant itself. It looks like they just, you know, they don't get real big around, but they get long and orange. And this is just a bell pepper here. He's doing some nice big bell pepper here. But my pepper plants are actually doing really well. I've been picking probably 2 or 3 peppers a day out of them. My cilantro is doing good. It is ready to go to seed. I was really hoping that my tomatoes would be ready and I would be able to make some fresh salsa with my cilantro. I'm hopefully going to be able to, maybe I'll dry it. Not sure. I really don't like the taste of it dry as much as I do fresh in my fresh pico de gallo. The parsley is doing okay. Just taking its time getting there. The basil that I replanted last month, I already harvested. It got really full and big. I harvested it, and it's starting to take off again. I just did this about 4 days ago, and it's actually doing really good. I'm starting to get some more plants on there. Hopefully I'll be able to get another harvest of my basil here. My carrots are doing really well in here. They've got a lot of tops. I haven't pulled one out, but I can see that there is some volume to the carrots, so that's good. The beets the same way. The beet greens are doing, actually, they're really well. But I actually am going to pull some beets here because I have some that are really, really large and some that aren't doing good at all. So I was going to pull the beets all out of here and then possibly replant for some fall beets. And I'm actually going to take this pot which had my radishes in it, and I'm going to put it over on the other side of the garden and do radishes again in that, that one, and see if we can't get some fall radishes. My blackberries did okay. There was a few, there's one, where is it? Right here. One right there. I got a few watermelon. They're baby watermelon. They're really not getting any bigger than this. It's about the size of a small softball. One next to it, as you can tell, was getting bigger. He started to shrivel. Not sure. I've been fertilizing them to try to get them to grow. These ones in here have not gotten any bigger. than that size for quite a while. This one out here really isn't getting much bigger. He's just about a little smaller than a tennis ball. And then this one is shriveling up. And then I have another one on this side that is just about the size of a tennis ball also. So I'm hoping they will produce a little bit more. I was having a really hard time with the chipmunk that we have in the garden, who kept gumming in and eating the watermelon when they got this size. They'd get this size, next day I'd know they were gone. He would come in and he would eat them all. Because I probably had 15 watermelon to start with. I know that's a lot for this little plant here. There's 4 or 5 plants in here. But I have been putting fertilizer in them, my fish emulsion in there, to try to get them, you know, some nutrients so that they will keep growing and producing. So we'll see what we can do about that. Maybe I'll, I had them up on so that the chipmunk wouldn't get them, but maybe he can't, you know, they're big enough now that he probably can't pull them off and eat them at this point. So I might try to take the trellis down and let them on the ground. Maybe they'll do better. I don't know. I don't know if it's hurting it to hang over the edge like that. I don't know. This is the first time I've grown watermelon. So now my rhubarb is pretty much done for the season. Did really good. My blueberries, I'm almost done with those. Been picking about a half a cup every day. Almost done with the blueberries. So I will, once those are done, I'll take the netting off. I just don't want the birds to get the last of my blueberries. I figure I've kept them this much, I'll just try to keep them the rest. But I was really thrilled with the amount of blueberries that I got. So far I got 1.5 quart of blueberries off of those 2 little blueberry pink plants. Now my oregano, I just gave this one a haircut again. This is the 3rd time I've cut this oregano this year. This one's not getting as tall. I cut this one twice, but hopefully before fall I'll be able to do one more harvest of my oregano, so that'll be good. Now my green beans, they are doing wonderful. They're along the fence there. That is all green beans, and they are just producing like crazy. They usually do very well for me against this fence. That's why I keep putting them there. I usually will get a ton of blueberries. I have been getting on average a gallon Ziploc bag of green beans every day. So and I love to have the green beans along that fence. They just do wonderful right there. So far this year I haven't had as many Japanese beetles on them. Usually the Japanese beetles are on them like crazy and eating them. I don't see them this year, and I don't know if it's because of the weed fabric. I don't know. So that's a good sign that I don't have them. But you can see there's green beans there. Those are almost ready. These green beans are actually called Vortex green beans, and they get as long as a foot. Here's some that are a little bit longer. That one's probably ready to be picked. I picked this morning. I was going to try not to pick this afternoon if I don't have to. Like I said, I've been getting a gallon Ziploc bag of green beans and having to do something with green beans every day. But I don't mind. It gives me, puts it in the pantry for the winter, so that I'll definitely have green beans. My strawberries are done. I'm waiting for them to start sending off their shoots. I got a couple here and there to get their shoots off. Once they start sending out their shoots, I'm going to put containers down and try to get them to grow. I got another green stack, and I'm going to use that to put some strawberries in and see where we can go with that. And the last thing is my onions. They're doing pretty good. Some of them are about the size of a tennis ball. I mean, I'm really shocked at how well they're doing in here. I need to weed. It looks like I keep forgetting they're up high. I don't think I need to weed, but weeds still get in the buckets. But yeah, some of them are pretty big. I'm not exactly sure when I can harvest these. I'm gonna have to look. Usually when they pop out of the ground like that, usually you can try to harvest them, but I was kind of hoping they'd get a little bit bigger. They might not, so I'm gonna see and find out about that, and if they're time to harvest, then I will harvest them. But it looks like I have some onion, which will be nice. And then this is the last of the radishes that actually did okay for the second round of radishes that I had. So I will pull the rest of these radishes, and then I will plant another batch of radishes in this bucket and the other one, and try to get those to grow. This bucket of parsley actually is doing really well over here in the shade, so I'm just going to hopefully, be able to harvest some of this here and let it keep growing again. And then this is the new green stack that I got that I'm going to put some other herbs in. I'm going to do some more parsley because I am really out of parsley, and I really needed parsley this year. And then maybe I can get some fall cilantro to go. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to load that green stack up with the 5 tiers and try to get some herbs to grow in it. We'll see. Hopefully they will. And then I'll have a little herb tower. But that is my garden for right now for August. It's doing actually really well. I'm really blessed with that. The other thing I wanted to show you is my rain barrels. I was actually down to 2 rain barrels on the back of my garage that were full of rainwater right up until yesterday. We've had a couple of days that has rained here and there, but yesterday last night and the day before we got a good rainstorm. So now I am completely full. All of my barrels around the house, all 15 of my barrels are full. I had been using the ones pumping them into the ones on the back of the shed. They were 3 of them are completely empty right now. So I will later today, I will pump some of these barrels into those ones so that, not today because it rained last night, so the garden's good, but tomorrow or Wednesday I will, if it doesn't rain again, I will water this. But I am so thrilled. I have not had to use the hose yet this year. So I'm thankful that we got rain when we did, because I was down to 2 barrels of my 19 barrels that I have, 2 55-gallon drums of water to water my garden. So I'm thrilled that everything is full again and I'm able to use that to water. So that will be wonderful. Well, I got the green stack planted with parsley and cilantro, and I'm hoping that it'll do okay right there. It gets a little bit of afternoon sun, but then it's right in the shade, because right now the sun's almost overhead, so it's getting shade right now. But as soon as the sun moves a little bit, we won't be getting we won't be getting sun right here. So hopefully it'll do really good right here. I'm not watering it because the soil that I had is really, really wet, and I don't want to overwater it and rot the seeds because they're sitting in too wet of soil. So I'll let that dry out a little bit, and then I will give it a drink with fish emulsion in a couple of days when the soil is dry, so that I can monitor how much liquid is getting in the soil there. Well, everybody, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the garden tour for August and being able to show you what I am growing. Knowing that it's, the weed fabric is actually really working. The weeds are so much better, and I think that is why my tomato plants and everything are a lot bigger than they normally are, because they're not fighting for growth from the weeds. The weeds will get all the nutrients and take off, and if I can't get out here every day to weed, it really puts a hamper on the growth of everything in the garden. So the weed fabric is actually, I think, benefiting me this year, and I will probably pull it up like everybody else has said to do for the winter, and then put it back down again in the spring. That allows the ground to take in as much nutrients as it can over the winter, and then you can have it in the ground. It'll kind of replace it. And I will do what I normally do by putting my mulch and everything, mulch leaves and everything in the garden to help rebuild my soil. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have not subscribed, please consider doing so and hit the thumbs up and the notification button. And as always, I will see you on the next one. Bye. Have a good day.